Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday. I hope you had a great weekend. Welcome to Donsky on the Right. Today is Monday, July 13th, 2026. It's a rough weekend for Republicans. So we lost a dear friend, a lion, a gatekeeper, a great man, Senator Lindsey Graham, in which the Republicans are mourning the loss of him this week. However, something else took place last week and didn't come out until Saturday for whatever reason. But the Democratic Congressman from California, his name is Khanna. He is a Middle Eastern man. It's probably one of the most untrustworthy people in politics today. The guy's just a horrible, natural, pathetic, chronic liar. And we're going to go over, I had to write it down and put it together so I'd have my facts together because I concentrate on facts. Donsky on the Right, yes, I am a right-wing, conservative, MAGA Republican. Don't doubt that for a second. However, I do believe in the truth because the Bible tells us that the truth has set us free, correct? And, this guy had me cursing this morning. I was so aggravated with them, and with Julian Michaels, and on Fox News, and I watched his interview. I watched the whole interview. So let's go through some things as we get going. First of all, my question: if I was facing Khanna, and if you ever see this, Khanna, Mr. Khanna, Congressman Khanna, or should I just call you Ro? What do you do if you need to erase the fact that you were campaigning for the Nazi tattoo alleged rapist Graham Plattner for the Maine Senate and you went out on the campaign trail for him? Then you hitch a ride to Israel because you get caught in it. You get embarrassed because all the Graham Plattner stuff comes out. And you get humiliated. Just absolutely humiliated. Because you got humiliated. Gatorade. That's the grape. I love the grape. You got humiliated because you lied. You lied. So now you need to save face. And you need to find a way to save face. You had to find a way to do it. So you got an easy target because everybody knows you hate Israel. Right? We all get that. So you hitch a ride to Israel. And you intentionally go into a no-go military zone, throw a temper tantrum when you're approached by the locals and police. And these were local security, y'all. This is local security here. You're approached by the locals and police and made to leave, right? Then stand in front of a mansion because you was there to meet with the Palestinians. You had nothing. You didn't even show up and go visit with the victims from the October 7th massacre. Instead, you go and visit the people who committed the massacre. You go hang out with the people who committed the massacre on Israel. They become your buddies. Then you stand in front of a mansion owned by a Palestinian while making a video complaining about how badly Palestinians have in life, how bad their life is. You can't make this stuff up. The comedy writes itself here, right? California Congressman Khanna, who consistently puts America last policies forward, is throwing a massive temper tantrum after his little anti-Israeli stunt has blown up in his face. People like me, who have a small podcast, who have a small audience that is growing. We have questions. My audience has questions. So I'm acting as their lawyer. I'm asking the questions for you. California needs to hear this because they got a vote for governor coming up. And they need to understand why they'd be much better off with a Republican versus a Democrat, right? So Khanna, who constantly puts America last, he allegedly, and it ain't no allegedly, he did, okay, let's just call it he did. He tried to sneak into a restricted military zone in the West Bank without proper coordination to stage a woke anti-Israeli photo. He just wanted to get a picture to try to expose himself. This guy's calling himself a future presidential candidate. He thinks America. He's got about as much chance of being president as James Talafrico has of being a senator out of Texas. All right, guy's sitting there calling God a queer in Texas and thinks he's going to be a senator. And I'm praying to God that Texas has a better sense than that. So. But instead of getting his perfect headline, which is what he wanted, he was rightfully detained by Israeli authorities. That would happen. Go out there to Area 69 out there in Arizona and New Mexico, where they're saying that they got alien spacecraft and all kind of stuff. That is a highly, highly, highly guarded military zone, and try to drive your car on that base because there's no gates in some place. You can just get on a dirt road and take off and start driving down it. If you've been out there, you know what I'm talking about. But they have cameras everywhere. And Israel is loaded with technology. They can see, they know everything that's going on. They see you. And they knew he was there, and they knew what he was up to. He wasn't kidding anybody. So Khanna, he tries to sneak into a restricted military zone. He gets caught, and now he's going, I can't believe that I got treated this way. So let me tell you something. Khanna, you're a con artist. You didn't meet with hostages, families of the victims who didn't survive the October 7th massacre in the Druze community. You didn't meet with American hostages who survived. You went to Israel to make a short film for personal gain. You are a horrible, horrible, chronic, pathetic liar. You actually make me sick to my stomach. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of feedback off of this. People want to know what really went on. Do I know with my intel that I get from my friends in news media, which I have a lot of them. So here is the breakdown that I can give y'all. This is the breakdown I can give y'all. According to Israel's ambassador to the U.S., Yatcha leader, the Israeli embassy reached out. The Israeli embassy did reach out to Khanna when they learned that he was going to Israel in order to coordinate a trip, right? Khanna ignored Israel's request. He even said that himself on Face the Nation, all right, who is a very liberal news outlet in the mainstream media, all right. He instead coordinated the trip without Israel's knowledge and with a left-leaning organization named Breaking the Silence. The group advocates for an effective displacement of Jews in Judea and Samaria. Now, what specifically happened on the ground, while in Area C, where it's just a restricted area where he knew that he was not supposed to go to, but he did it intentionally because he wanted to get caught. He wanted this to happen. This was for him. He knew what the outcome was going to be. He knew they wasn't going to kill him. He knew that it would create a big stir and he could get some footage and try to make himself look like the victim to get America's eyes off of him after he was sitting there supporting Graham Plattner, who's running for senator from Maine, and Khanna sitting there putting all of his weight behind this guy, saying this guy's going to be a great senator. Let's get him in there. Okay. And come out he's a rapist and a liar and a pathological liar who don't have a job, has never worked. His only customer with his oyster company that he owns, Graham Plattner's, is his mother. She owns some restaurant there, I guess. NBC confirmed that Khanna's trip organizer for Breaking the Silence did not dispute the fact to the Jerusalem Post. According to the Israeli government, which controls Area C, a highly restricted area. When an area is formally declared a closed military zone, Israeli military orders generally prohibit entry or presence without permission from the military commander. A foreign visitor, including an American or European citizen, who enters a CMZ without permission can potentially be removed, detained for question, fined, or face other legal consequences depending on the circumstances. It could even lead to lethal situations. Lethal means, basically, let me break it down for you, you can get shot. You can get shot by the IDF. What is the IDF? Israeli Defense Forces. Same as our military, the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines. The IDF is the Israeli Defense Forces. That is their military. Khanna acted contrary to Israel military regulations governing closed military zones and against diplomatic norms of the U.S. Congressman. So now he's going to start playing his congressman card. His, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? I am a congressman from California. I am a congressman in the United States of America. And you're holding me hostage right now. He literally wanted it to look like that it became a hostage situation. I kid you not, this guy, Khanna, is a chronic pathological liar. It was at this point that local civilian guards saw a bus in a CMZ area and took matters in their own hands by stopping the bus and calling up the IDF. Israeli officials criticized this intervention by local civilians, with Prime Minister Netanyahu referring to them as vigilantes. Jerusalem Post also cited Israeli officials who said that That initial stop by the local guards was a failure on the Israeli side, implying that the initial stop by local civilians was outside of their jurisdiction. Nevertheless, these local guards immediately called the IDF, according to numerous sources, including Khanna's own account. The IDF arrived promptly within about 20 minutes. When the IDF arrived, they began to investigate, right? According to Jerusalem Post report, at this point, the people on Khanna's bus also called the Israeli police to resolve the dispute. The precise division of authority between the two agencies at this point was not publicly explained. See, Khanna was thinking he was winning because it was kind of set up like a lie, because he was playing the victim. They're holding me hostage. They're kicking the tires. They're beating on the car. They got guns pointed at us. They won't let us go. He was playing that. Yet, he had entered an unauthorized military zone. He intentionally did it to get some public notoriety to only help himself. I felt powerless in the situation, says Khanna, which is not an easy thing, as I have a lot of privilege in life. The soldiers smoked cigarettes and chatted with the men as they laughed at us. I could not decipher if it was the female soldiers smoking cigarettes, their conversation with men, or both. That made Khanna feel powerless based on the New York Times reporting. I'm serious, man. About an hour later from the start of the incident, Israeli police arrived. The Israeli police told NBC News that it responded to a report that a group was blocking a route inside a closed military zone. It's called a CMZ. A CMZ is a closed military zone that's technically controlled by the Israeli Defense Forces, the IDF. It should be noted that for this particular incident, it appears that the IDF controls the military zone while the Israeli police controls the traffic and detention matters. They control it all right there. They got this stuff set it up, man. The Israelis, they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're looking for. And after the October 7th, they're extra careful with security. They're extra careful with security right now. And why would anybody blame them after everything that went through? The hostages that was kept, the people that were killed. That was, and who did that? The Palestinians. The Muslims. Police also added that they reviewed camera footage and added this about the group leader, likely a reference to breaking the silence activists. A review of body-worn camera footage confirms that the group leader was explicitly warned by officers. Okay? They made it explicit. They looked him in the face. They said, "You cannot come through here." Right? He was warned. As this was not his first time violating the closed military zone order. Apparently, he's done this before, police said. He was issued a final warning that any future violations would result in immediate arrest. About an hour and some minutes later, local police cleared the area and Khanna continued on his way. These are facts. This is exactly how it went down on Wednesday with sources. But what happened after, this is important too. Khanna sat on the story for several days and coordinated with major networks in the United States to provide an incomplete picture of what happened. In other words, he lied to NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox News, CNN, and anybody else, the New York Times, the Post, whoever would listen to him, they made up a false statement and just lied. Why is that? Because I'm going to say it again, because he's a pathological, chronic liar. All right? He did not disclose instance that himself was acting outside of military laws by being inside a CMZ, a closed military zone. Kind of also described the incident to networks as him being held at gunpoint. This is comical now, man. You can't even make this stuff up. And while military personnel were armed, because that is the nature of military personnel in closed military zones, I'm armed. Right here in Atlanta, Georgia, I walk around packing. When I leave the house, I am armed every day. I do not walk out unarmed. And this is right here in America, on American soil, in the South, in Atlanta, Georgia. In Georgia, I'm armed. So I don't understand how that was even an issue, that they were armed, because this is the nature of a military personnel in closed military zones. There is absolutely no evidence that firearms were ever pointed at anyone or that anyone was threatened with anything gun-related. So that's another lie that Khanna told. In my view, these deliberate material omissions and egregious overstatements by Khanna were designed to paint him as a victim, which I've been saying all along, of something, I'm not sure exactly. Instead of stating the facts about exactly what happened, he just wanted to lie, to become the victim. For instance, Khanna specifically didn't report to any of the networks in his initial media blitz that he was in a restricted area controlled by Israel, pulling a stunt against Israel. Aside for NBC, none of the networks disclosed that important fact. Khanna also fundraised off of the media blitz. Another piece of information you guys need to know is that emerged from this story is Khanna went on the trip with his new aide, a Democratic Socialist Cameron Kasky, Kasky, K-A-S-K-Y, Cameron Kasky, in the photograph below, which it shows that you'll see it here. If you're watching this, you'll be able to see it. And Kasky is a Columbia University dropout who had entered New York's congressional race to replace Jerry Nadler, right? And dropped out fairly quickly because he was a terrible candidate. His primary message was effectively that he has deep hatred for Israel. For instance, he likened Israelis fighting in Gaza war to mass shooters on high school campuses. He compared it to being the same thing. And blamed the United States for both, and blamed us for Gaza and for Israeli fighting in Gaza. Here's how he framed it. What did the mass shooting at my high school in Parkland and the mass killings of children and adults in Gaza have in common? America is responsible. Lastly, and most importantly, and I've been mentioning this, yesterday was repeated by the ambassador to Israel, and he gave a detailed, what you're going to see here in just a minute. You're going to see this, and you're going to hear it. If you're driving in your car, you're going to hear it. If you're getting to watch this on Facebook or wherever, on YouTube or wherever you're watching it at, you're going to get to see it. So you're getting the best of both worlds. I'm making sure that this is available for everybody. The trip's timeline, intense or a little strange. The trip occurred shortly after Graham Plattner's campaign collapsed as a result of a credible rape allegation. Okay? Actually, it was more than one rape. It was 3 rapes. So, which all 3 women are credible. And Khanna was one of Plattner's most important supporters and campaigned with him in June, shortly before Plattner won his primary. It is also particular that Khanna closed, or he chose the Middle East and not the United States as the setting from which to announce his candidacy. Why are Democratic socialists and left-leaning candidates so focused on what Israelis are doing in the Middle East and not on their own constituents in the United States? Ro Khanna's got ambitions to run for the President of the United States. That's what this was all about. He wants us to hate Israel because he hates Israel, and they are out to paint Israel and the United States, the Republican side, the MAGA party, to be the bad guys. And they want the Democratic, Socialist, liberals to look like the good guys. Now, what you're about to watch, what you're about to see, it's going to explain a lot, and it's going to tell you a lot. So I want you to sit back and enjoy the rest of this podcast. If you're driving in your car, you'll hear it, you'll listen to it, you'll know what's going on. And if you're at your home, you're watching this on Facebook or something like that, or YouTube. Irrelevant. I'm all over the place. That's follow me on Facebook. Get on Facebook and hit that follow button, and get on my podcast, Donsky on the Right. I'm on everything: iHeart, Spotify, BuzzFeed, Amazon, Prime Video, Apple Podcast. I'm literally on everything and growing and growing. I mean, I ain't got but about 10,000 people watching right now, but that's all right. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So that being said, again, happy Monday. We're just getting started. Let's take a look at Mr. Ro Khanna and just how completely full of crap this guy is.
Tech leaders, finance leaders, politicians, all implicated in some way. Epstein had set up a rape island where rich and powerful men were abusing young girls with impunity. And there are thousands of victims. When those files come out, it's going to shock the conscience of this country. So many people who were co-conspirators. And the Justice Department redacted the names of these individuals. Thomas Massey and I were just there for 2 hours and we found 6 names. There are probably dozens of other names. There's justice everywhere else in the world. Everywhere else they're doing prosecutions. Everywhere else people are falling. And here you've got people in the Epstein class sitting in the administration, no consequence. People who are still, some of them who raped these young girls. And today is a day, because of the survivors, that we can say is the beginning of the end of the Trump presidency. I really believe that. Haley Robeson just wants justice. That's why I'm inviting her as my guest tomorrow at the State of the Union. She'll be speaking not just for herself, but for the thousands of survivors. The Epstein class has led to a system of extractive capitalism that basically has been indifferent to the working class. We already have an exposure of so many of the most powerful people in our country, and an exposure that is bringing down the potential British government, the British monarchy, the Norwegian monarchy. There are 2 Americas. There are 2 tiers of justice. Everyone in all our society, from finance to arts to Hollywood to tech to real estate, is caught up in this mess. 21 and 22-year-olds with guns, laughing that they had detained us. The arrogance of those young IDF soldiers that my tax dollars are funding, having no respect for the fact that they were detaining Americans, no respect that there was an American congressperson in that bus, and laughing when our translator told them that there are Americans there and the American embassy is concerned. It is the arrogance of power, of a power that has had no accountability, total impunity, and has created a toxic culture. I'm certainly probably the first American politician who's been detained by the IDF and Israeli settlers. We were at a village that Israeli settlers had destroyed. They had destroyed the school. They had destroyed that village, and we were just looking at it. And these hoodlums come in with machine guns, an M4, an American-made machine gun, and they detain us. They block off the road. And then they call the IDF, and the IDF is on their side, not on the side of the Americans. I saw the arrogance in the eyes of those settlers, 21 and 22-year-olds with guns, laughing that they had detained us. The arrogance of those young IDF soldiers that my tax dollars are funding, having no respect for the fact that they were detaining Americans. I'm certainly probably the first American politician who's been detained by...
I want y'all to listen to this liar lie. So that's what I'm going to say. Khanna is a lying POS. Everybody's lying but him. Everybody's lying but him. I'm going to let y'all make your own decisions.
There were two high-profile incidents I want to quickly touch on here. One, a CNN crew attacked in the West Bank by what they say were 4 settlers. There was also an incident with Khanna, the congressman from California, who said his vehicles he was in were stopped by Israeli settlers, and then when the IDF showed up, they were on the side of the settlers, not him. He said it's not a good idea to detain long-shot presidential candidates. It was a warning to your government. Do you think your government needs to apologize to both him and those CNN journalists?
Any violence is to be condemned. No excuses, no explanations. Okay, so if CNN crew was attacked, that needs to be condemned, and I'm doing so right now. And we need to do a better job.
You are condemning it. They're reporting
if it was actually took place as they've reported it, absolutely condemning it. We need to rein in violence on all sides. Now, in terms of Khanna, we reached out to him when we heard he was going to Israel, the Israeli embassy here in Washington. As all congressmen do, they coordinate their trip with the Israeli government. We suggested he visit with survivors of the October 7th massacre, that he visit the borders so he understands the issues that we have on our borders, and so on. He ignored that, and he decided to coordinate his trip not with Israel, but with Palestinian activists and with J Street, which is a anti-government, anti-Israeli government advocacy group here in Washington. So, he coordinated...
It's a Jewish Slavic group.
Well, it's
that is supportive of a different path for Israel.
Yeah. I play tennis once a year. That doesn't make me a tennis player. The fact that they call themselves a Jewish organization is irrelevant. They're a advocacy group against the government of Israel. That has to be clear.
Netanyahu government.
Yes. So
what you mean.
And
the government you work for.
And Congressman Khanna has made no secret about his antipathy towards the government of Israel as well. So perhaps if he would have coordinated the trip, and then to have this incident on Wednesday and wait to release it on Saturday, maybe this had more something to do with his support of Graham Plattner beforehand and the difficulties he had with that, and trying to shift the focus to something else. Perhaps I'm asking a question.
Well, we did hear from Congressman Khanna, who said that there was an alert to the embassy on his behalf, and that they asked for the news to be held until he had left the country.
There was not an alert. There was a question about visas, that's all. But when we requested that he coordinate the trip with us, he rejected that by basically staying silent. So that's unfortunate. This whole incident is unfortunate. And if somebody, it's kind of interesting that somebody wants to declare a presidential run by running off to Israel. Not strange?
Well, we're going to have to leave it there, sir. There's so much more to talk about with you, but I'm out of time.
I said this earlier. I'm going to say this again because this is really sticking out to me as I'm watching this. Notice how he keeps coming back and calling everybody a liar but him. The U.S. ambassador to Israel is lying. The IDF is lying. The Israeli police are lying. Anybody who questions him is a liar. He's the only one telling the truth. That, my friends, is a sign of a natural-born liar. Khanna is a lying sack of crap. That's all he is. all he is.
Well, Congressman Khanna says he was detained by Israeli settlers in the West Bank last week. He is accusing the Israeli military, the IDF, of lying about the incident. The California Democrat posting, quote, Israeli settlers brandishing American-made M4s detained me and other Americans on my trip to Palestine. When the IDF arrived, they sided with the settlers and continued our detention. They made a huge mistake. The IDF, though, has a different version of what went down. They released a statement that reads in part, IDF troops were dispatched to the scene, quickly dispersed the Israeli civilians, and reopened the blocked road. The IDF soldiers operating in the area did not take part in blocking that road. Congressman Khanna joins us now. Thanks for taking time with us, sir. Did you really not know that going into a restricted military area guarded by local security forces was going to result in your entourage getting stopped?
It was not a area.
You are a liar. You're just a damn liar. He's such a liar.
Prior coordination,
Wyman, if I could just finish, please. Because this
Can I finish, please? Can I finish my lying because I'm a liar?
We were there seeing the Zanuda village, which Yinan Levy had destroyed, burned to the ground. Many American members of Congress had been there before. We drove up to the road, and these hoodlums with M4s.
Oh, now they're hoodlums. You're the hoodlum.
Our van.
He's going to Pakistan, you lying piece of shit.
It didn't matter that we were Americans. And then the IDF came and they blocked the road. There's breaking news video camera released just this morning that shows those IDF officers siding with the settlers against the Americans. Many, even conservatives, have said, how dare they do this to an American passport holder, not just me, 4 Americans. And we need the arrest of these people who detain.
You need to be arrested.
Congressman, it is disingenuous to call those local security officials random settlers. These are people who operate in
She's
the area
ripping your
regularly.
eyes out, you
Further,
liar.
I have to point out to you that other members of Congress have visited this area, but with prior coordination, we understand that your team did not do that.
That's false. We had informed the Israeli embassy. The only reason our lives are saved is because of the excellent work of the American embassy. David Brownstein, who also can talk about this, had first told us just don't engage with these violent settlers. And we tell them you're on with the American
Now
embassy.
they're violent settlers. They're security, you dumbass.
Someone's in Congress or a government official. He said to say that to the IDF. They didn't care. They were taking the side of the settlers who were detaining and threatening Americans over the side
the Israelis, sir, say it was IDF officials coordinating with local security on the ground there. Here's just part of the statement. Well, let me read part of this statement, sir, from the IDF. Troops were dispatched to the scene, quickly dispersed the Israeli civilians, and reopened the blocked road. The IDF soldiers operating in the area did not take part.
We know you're the only one telling the truth, you liar. You're a chronic, pathological liar.
There's a detailed account, but the
True Californian.
The video shows the IDF 4 soldiers that are blocking us and detaining us, and the only
plus you're Middle Eastern, you liar.
Credit to the American embassy career folks, David Brownstein. He called someone senior in the Israeli government, and finally, 75 minutes in, they sent police force that, and then the violent settlers left, and the IDF left, and they let us through. And it was because of his efforts that American lives weren't lost. But the reality is this is a unprecedented, illegal detention of Americans.
Well, here's the American ambassador in the United States. Take a quick listen. I want to get your response.
In terms of Khanna, we reached out to him when we heard he was going to Israel, the Israeli embassy in Washington. We suggested he visit with survivors of the October 7th massacre, that he visit the borders so he understands the issues that we have on our borders. He ignored that, and he decided to coordinate his trip not with Israel, but with Palestinian activists and with J Street, which is a anti-government, anti-Israeli government advocacy group here in Washington.
Sir, why did you not coordinate with Israel on this, knowing they're staunch allies of the United States, knowing the recent history of the October 7th massacre, and most importantly, why did you declined to meet with Jewish survivors of the Hamas terror attacks on October 7th.
The ambassador is lying. We did.
Oh, another person lying.
If everybody is lying, but just sir, you have now said the ambassador is lying, the IDF is lying, the U.S. Embassy is lying.
You are so full of shit, man.
I praise the U.S. Embassy. The ambassador is blatantly lying. This
guy's a horrible human being.
The reality is that we coordinated with Israel. How did I get through and back? I had been to Israel 3 times before. I met with Prime Minister Netanyahu before. I met with Prime Minister Bennett. If you ask John and Rachel Poland, who lost their son, Hirsch, tragically, I was fighting for Hirsch's release as a hostage. I met with them many times. But I told the Israeli government that I wanted to go on a Palestinian-led trip to the West Bank because I'd been to 3 trips to Israel. I had gotten Israel's perspective, and that this trip I was going to go to the West Bank for a Palestinian-led look for 3 days. They knew that, and the point is that just because
he's in Palestine
wants to get the side of Palestinians, that does not give Israel the right to have violent settlers.
Well, we all know you hate Israel.
With a passport that gives Israel the right to have IDF detain us. It's not just me. I mean, Tucker Carlson and others have said that this is outrageous, that this is happening to an American citizen. I've traveled to China, I've traveled to Saudi Arabia, I've traveled all over the world. Never has this happened to American passport holders.
Oh, you're so full of shit.
On my ideology, but as Americans, we should make it clear: no country.
I don't disagree with you on your ideology, sir. I have no skin in this game. It's a question of following the facts here. It's a question of listening to official statements from the government there. It's also the reality of going into what was a restricted area without any prior coordination. That
is just false.
We
gave Israel a heads up.
Oh,
and Haaretz, the Israeli paper, said that the Israeli government is wrong. The oldest paper. And all I want people to do is watch the videos. They came out today.
We have,
and
sir. We have, and we've been playing them all throughout the segment too, so that our viewers can see what is happening.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's a body cam video for 1 minute and 30 seconds by an Israeli citizen, Nadav Lyman.
You're just making yourself look even dumber. That's because you voted for Graham Plattner, you piece of shit.
Thank you. And every American should be outraged with what happened.
Hey, Bill?
We're outraged at you. All right, there you have it, man. And thank you for tuning in or watching today's podcast and sitting with me. I know this was a little lengthy. But if you're driving in your car and you're traveling on the road, you had nothing else to listen to, so you may as well just listen to me. But I hope you enjoyed it. All you home today, it is raining here in the beautiful heart of Dixie of Atlanta, Georgia. And it's dark outside, so it's a perfect night to be sitting here. I'm finishing up my book on alcoholism and my battle with alcohol. And overcoming a horrible disease of cirrhosis of the liver, and how I'm fighting back to beat it. And I'm feeling much better. Since I stopped drinking, I'm 1,000 times better. So my body's feeling better. I can already feel and tell that my body's starting to, my appetite's coming back. Some good things are happening, and we're going to have a show on that. We're going to discuss that. I might even have a few guests on for that. So that being said, I hope you have a fabulous Monday. But I just wanted to expose this guy and let y'all see him for who he is. And I'm sure there's other people who are doing it, but this was my take on this clown, Khanna. This guy's an idiot. He's an extreme, chronic, pathological liar. You couldn't believe a word he says. He believes his own lies. And, you know, he loves playing that victim card, don't he? So, thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in. Follow us on Donsky on the Right. Get locked into my podcast. Like I said, you can find me on iHeart. You can find me on Spotify. You can find me on BuzzFeed. And find a place with a podcast and you can find me, because I am everywhere. I mean, I'm literally everywhere. I think I'm on 20 different carriers right now. And plus, you know, you can see the podcast live when you're on Facebook and stuff like this. And I'm looking forward to the next year. We're just going to continue to grow it and get better and better and better. God bless you. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day. Happy Monday, everybody.